Yeah, it's not as exciting as it used to be, but that's the way I like it. I got up for it. I don't need any additional stuff. There's always, I don't know, all the cities and all the counties, different government agencies, there's always one trouble child.
I've always missed the trouble.
It's 3 o'clock. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order for Public Safety Committee. It's a special call meeting, May 9th, 2019, 3 p.m. Madam Secretary, if you call the roll, please.
Rick Brewer,
Here.
Dawson Fields, Mike Harrell, Raymond Jesse,
Present.
Tom Kern,
Here.
John Metz,
Here.
and Charles Thacker.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have 6 members present constituting a quorum.
Open the floor for a motion for approved consent agenda.
So moved.
Have a motion by Commissioner Brewer. And a second by Commissioner Thacker. All in favor, please state saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. And we'll move straight into the order at hand and recognize Dr. Blaine Jones with the EMS Exploratory Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Metz and members of the Public Safety Committee. I had contacted Mr. Metz, like I told you at our last meeting. I keep you all updated as to what our committee was doing and how things were progressing. We got the applications for the renewal or getting the franchise for the EMS for Hawkins County. We reviewed those, our committee got back together, and we came up with 3 recommendations that I wanted to bring before you folks today, and in turn, hopefully you can take that to the full county commission and see what we can do from there. Our first recommendation is already, I think, is a resolution from Mr. Metz. It's going to be on the agenda for the May meeting, and that's to extend the franchise, the current franchise, for 90 days to give us, our committee, our ad hoc committee, more time to complete some fact findings, get some figures, do some studying. And that relates to the second part of our recommendation, which is that with that time, we're going to try and put together 2 models. A Model A, we're calling one of them, and Model B, the other. And what Model A, just boil it down to the simple facts, is that Hawkins County would assume taking over Hawkins County EMS. And we will put together a plan for that, much like we did back in 2016. Model B is looking at something very similar to that, only maintaining Hawkins County EMS as a 501c3. The county's involvement wouldn't be quite as much. It would still be there. It would still be a Hawkins County entity, so to speak, but they would have a 501c3 status, which opens them up to a lot more possibilities and benefits, particularly a retirement fund that they could get that would be beneficial to them in more ways than I ever imagined. But the third recommendation is if the county commission does not accept Model A or Model B, that they would proceed with accepting Hawkins County EMS as the franchisee for EMS services for Hawkins County. Where our committee has come from with all of this is our first and major concern are the citizens of Hawkins County. Just like you all are elected to serve Hawkins County citizens, that's what we're trying to do as well. Our second thing that we want to do is make it as informative for Hawkins County commissioners to make a very good decision on this, because it's an important decision. EMS services are not mandated. Government doesn't say that you've got to do that, but it's an essential service when you stop and look at it, and someone's life is at hand. So we want to put together a package for you guys to look at and make a decision on. The thing that's guiding us on this, or the thing that spurred us on, is that our Hawkins County EMS guys, every 2 years, are facing renewal of a franchise. Their job's not stable. They wonder, okay, what if we're not renewed? What if somebody else comes in and gets it? Where do we go? What happens to us? What do we do with our equipment? What do we do with the money that we owe? We're not gonna have any money coming in to make payments on an ambulance for say, or things like that. The guys and ladies that are working for them, wonder about their jobs. And there are counties around us that are siphoning off our guys that have been here and been trained by Hawkins County EMS left and right. They're going to Sullivan County, Greene County. I think they said actually Greene County is probably our biggest competitor. So our paramedics and our advanced EMTs are getting training here, getting experience here, and then they can go to a neighboring county, get better benefits and better pay, and know that their job is stable. I can't blame them in a situation like that. So our committee, I've charged our committee with trying to find a way to make Hawkins County EMS a more stable organization and make it more stable for Hawkins County citizens. So we know that we've got somebody there in the clutch when we need them. And trust me, from someone that's needed them more times than I would want to, it's a very important thing. So that's our three recommendations. The 90-day extension, which is already as a resolution, I think. The second one is with that 90 days, our committee is going to continue to meet and come up with a plan for Model A and Model B to present to Hawkins County Commission. And then our third recommendation is if you don't want to proceed with Model A or Model B in 90 days or less when we present that to you, that you continue with your current franchise with Hawkins County EMS. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to try and answer them for you.
I'll open the floor to committee for questions.
Do you know how long the contracts are with neighboring counties? You said 2 years. You know if they're.
I don't know exactly. I can give you a couple of examples. Sullivan County is run by their county commission, so they're solid. They're not renewable. Greene County is the same way. Their county commission oversees them and runs them, so they're solid. Washington County, I'm pretty sure, is the same way. Washington County oversees it. Unicoi, I think if you've seen any news, you've seen what's gone on up there. They kind of do like we're doing. They're doing a franchise, and they had a private outfit come in, I think a year and a half ago, and they're already out. And Unicoi is without services right now, as far as I know, or contracted services. That's just a few of the examples that I know of. Obviously we're going to gather more information from surrounding counties. We're looking at salaries, we're looking at benefits, we're looking at training, everything that we can. The other thing that we're going to look at as well is the 911 and EMS interaction, how all of that's working out. Response times, times from receiving a call to dispatch, everything that we can put together. Now those things are down the road, but things that we can maybe put together and help with some of the standards that are set by you all on your standards, that there were things that were questionable that needed to be reviewed and need to be probably expanded or changed. But again, that's something down the road that our committee wants to look at. Right now, we want to get a solid plan for EMS services for you guys and ladies to look at and make a decision for the county citizens of Hawkins County.
So you're going to be, during this 90-day extension, you're going to be coming back with maybe, hopefully, more information.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'll come bring it to you as we get it. I want to come through you folks and let you know, and then you can do with it what you want to do.
John, the resolution that's extended the franchise for 90 days, how far out does that go?
That will be the end of September.
The current one ends June 30th.
Is that going to give the committee enough time
I think we decided to give us enough
to come
time
back to us?
that we would be able to get you a good solid plan or a couple of good plans together. We've gotten a lot of information so far in just a few weeks that we've been meeting. And I don't know how many of the folks you know that's on this ad hoc committee, but I sat down the other night and added it up, and there's over probably 150 years of medical and EMS experience just on that one board. So it's a tremendous amount of information that's flowing through. I actually met with some of the EMS board, the Hawkins County EMS board, the other night. I went to one of their meetings and got some good information from them. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at everything we can find to make a good decision to recommend it to you guys.
Yeah, can you explain that Model B a little more detail?
Model B would be, Hawkins County EMS is currently a 501c3, a nonprofit organization. Obviously, if Hawkins County were to assume full control, they take in all of their assets, all of their liabilities, and the 501c3 goes away. That's the Model A. If it's a Model B, they can keep their 501c3 status, and with that, they've already got like Medicare numbers and provider numbers that you have to be able to bill insurance, which is a tremendous asset in and of itself right there. Plus, they've already got in place some of their insurances. Maybe the counties might be a little bit better. Maybe the county can get it cheaper. Maybe the county can get liability insurance for them cheaper than what they carry now. Maybe with their 501c3, they can maintain what they've got. The big thing with the 501c3 that would open doors for them to become more stable, recruit more people to come in here and stay, is the fact that I think it's called TCRS, a retirement fund that I wasn't aware of, that apparently is in the top 10 in America, that everybody covets around here. And if you could get that through that 501c3, then you could hold on to the people you've got, maybe even get some people that have left and gone to other counties to come back here and stay. You do that, you stabilize everything. You do that, you don't have to close Station 4 in Segornsville because you're having to pay overtime. You do that, and you've got people, you don't have to bring people in for overtime or keep as many part-timers. If you've got a good, stable staff of providers the whole time that you're in service. So there's a lot of benefits, and the 501c3 could help provide some of those. So what we'll do is we'll put both of them together, let you look and see what the benefits are for both of them, see what might be a liability for both of them, and make a decision as to what to do. And again, you may decide, hey, let's just leave things as they are, and we'll do this again 2 more years.
So in this plan, I know Commissioner Atlas, he's real concerned about it, but are y'all looking at trying to put the Segornsville station back?
Well, that's something that Jason and Lynn could address more than I can, but just from talking to them, I think it was $30,000 more a month that they were having to pay in overtime to staff that station. They want it open, obviously, but having to pay that kind of money out, and again, not knowing how stable you're going to be with people coming in or leaving for another place, then you may have to even use more overtime to continue your staffing. But to answer your question, yes, they do want to get it back open, but they can't keep putting out $30,000 a month in overtime.
One of the reasons we wanted the extra time period is we believe that whatever recommendation we make to you has to be anchored on hard numbers. It has to be objective in nature, because you all are the stewards of the resources that the county raises through whatever means. And you have to have that hard information in order to make the good informed decisions on these. So we're concentrating a great deal not only on standards of care, but also the numbers that support whatever recommendation comes forward. For example, numbers on the nature of service calls, where they come from in the county, that sort of thing. We don't want to, there is no place in this for anecdotal information over objective data, numbers. That's our feeling.
Any additional questions or concerns as of right now? So just to clarify, so the option B would be some form of quasi-government entity.
Yes, that's, when you involve 501c3 to be a quasi-relationship between the county and EMS.
And the particulars about how that would be managed would, I assume, be worked out through this process, whether
Yes.
it be developing a pre-hospital board or something like that.
And both of those, Model A and Model B, as we're calling them, will come with a recommendation, I can promise you, of a board that is not political in any way. It's going to be a level between Hawkins County Commission and the EMS. Of course, it'll be a pure board of advisory and recommendation board, but we would oversee the EMS, and we would be the go-between, or I say we, that board would be the one going between Hawkins County Commission and Hawkins County EMS.
So what, with the presentation to the full commission, that would just simply be more or less gauging the mindset of the commission as a whole as to what direction you might take for additional due diligence.
Yeah.
We're naturally not, we wouldn't be committed to anything at all except for that due diligence process, which would include financial compensation as far as capital expenditures, employee overhead,
And that's all the things, or a few of the things that we're looking at. But yes, we want to put all of that together that we can possibly can, like I say, for the time when you have it before you, you can make an informed decision that's going to serve county commission well, but most importantly, serve the citizens of Hawkins County. And we, like I say, we're already gathering that information, you know, in the last couple of weeks. So we've got a model. We have an example of the quasi-government, the 501c3. We have the charter. We've got everything we need to kind of get an idea of how to put that together, and how it would look. What we don't have, and we got to work on, is getting the numbers, how that looks as compared to just a full overhaul, and the county assumes full control.
So we could, in theory, possibly set it up to where, like with a utility, that they would be forced to continue to be viable on their own, but potentially depend upon us for
Yes.
capital expenditures. We could structure it however we would have additional options.
That's the way it looked. That's the way it looked on paper. Is they're here and they're doing everything just like they're doing today. But if something happens and Medicare doesn't, maybe they get an audit and Medicare pulls a bunch of charts and the revenue stream just bottoms for some reason, the county would be able to supplement and help them out in that time till they could get it built back up. Or the county, you know, makes a commitment to a capital outlay of getting a new ambulance every, you know, one a year or something of that nature. But those stipulations would be included in the proposal. You know, hey, here's how we're wanting to operate. Obviously, that could be modified, you know, with, hey, we want to go with this plan, but we'd rather be able to do this and this and this. And that's where the go-between will come along. I foresee possibly that if we present this and you guys decide to go with Model A or Model B, that we're going to have to extend again further than the 90 days to get you know, we can't just jump into it and not have all the details worked out. We're gonna have a pretty solid proposal for you, but then we need to look at all the side issues, the legal issues, how you put it on paper and make it work, those type of things. So, you know, you're probably looking, 6 months or so from the decision making before you'd have it operational.
How many employees are there?
There are 32 full-time employees,
How many?
32.
32.
How many employees do you have, are you needing those days, and how many are you short right now?
We'd be short, 6.
6.
I don't know if you know this or not, but is there any grant money or anything for a county to start their own EMS? Any kind of grant?
Now, I know that they're able with their, especially with the 501c3 status, they're able to get grants. And I can let them address that. They spoke to that the other night. As far as the county on their own, I don't know. I don't know if the county can apply for some of those or not.
Is that something we can get somebody to look into?
Those community block development grants. Those, they can be used, some of those can be used for things such as that, right? The community.
We have used block grants before. I don't think we've ever used them for anything like EMS, but block grants are available, but they are specific as to what you can apply for. I don't know if EMS would be in that category or not. We've never really looked into that I know of.
Is that something we can look into and see and
Commissioner Chip Washington.
One of the things that we've talked about on the panel is revenue stream sources. That would include block grants. That's one of the reasons why we need an extension of time. Pardon me, I'm yelling in your ear there. Is to look at processes, revenue sources, how things are done, how they could be done, what's the organizational architecture that would keep the EMS function accountable to the commissioners, while at the same time let it continue operating efficiently and keeping the standards of care where they need to be. So this is more than just a small, you know, let's count a few P's project. We see this as a comprehensive recommendation to you, not only on what might be your best operation, but in the end, as Dr. Jones said, it would include what we believe would be the optimum structure and interfaces, set of interfaces to get the thing done. We've discussed other healthcare systems, if there's any way, for example, they can help out in that sort of thing. So we're exploring it. Nothing is closed in the exploration, nothing. And we've got people on the panel that are really well informed on these things, and there's been some good brainstorming that's going on, led by Dr. Jones. So we're pretty confident we can come up with recommendations that it's clear to us that the staffing issue is a priority. It's a root cause for anxiety about continuation of service, continuity of service, and it manifests in a number of ways. For example, one is what Dr. Jones alluded to. You know, you go through this franchise hassle every 2 years. How can you think of any stability in your job when you're putting food on the table for your family? You've got single parents, I know, working in some of those trucks, and you have to be mindful of that sort of thing, and that we take that into consideration, the capital expenditure and the O&MS going forward. So we're taking all these things into consideration. Again, it's under Dr. Jones' leadership, but we got a bunch of good minds on that panel.
I think the only thing I can really speak for on behalf of this committee and the majority of the commissioners is trying to find a cost-effective fix. Because they don't like dealing with it every 2 years, and I guarantee you the commissioners dread going through this process. It's very emotionally charged, to say the least, so I know I can certainly speak for the committee to say we greatly appreciate your efforts that you've been putting into this. I'm assuming at this time, we just simply need a motion if the committee desires to go ahead and just give our blessing towards the ad hoc committee to present to the full commission in this month's meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we'll have a motion by Commissioner Burrell
I'll second.
and a second by Commissioner Kern. All in favor, please state the same aye. Any opposed, like sign? Alright. If there's nothing else.
I do appreciate all the hard work they're doing, and then too, I like what the gentleman said, hard numbers, cause I don't like hidden numbers. I like to see facts, what it's actually going to cost.
We recognize your responsibility to the citizens to not go back to the well every couple of minutes. We recognize that, and we also take that into consideration.
Just one question, Commissioner Mintz, or Chairman Mintz, I'm sorry. By listening to the proposal that was made to the Public Safety Committee, all three recommendation has nothing to do with lifeguard ambulance service. And I was just curious of why our application didn't get recommended in one of the, recommendations.
At this time, the way that this committee, and correct me if I'm wrong, was to assemble the ad hoc committee, which got approval from the full commission, to be put in their lap, so to speak, for them to make recommendations towards us.
Yes.
As the commission as a whole, they're fully aware that there were two applications put in, and it may be that a commissioner comes up and questions that position heavily, and at that time it goes into the mix. But currently at this time, we're trying to be as apolitical as possible to let this vet through and see where we're at. Now, I as an individual, nor even this committee, can make any promises towards anything whatsoever, because we've seen before that a recommendation comes out of this committee is a unanimous recommendation, and it gets to the full commission and completely gets derailed. So I've certainly learned my lesson on this. Whatever this committee says as a whole, it may not turn out that way. So we're just, I think, as far as I know, that's the desire of the committee, is to charge forward with the initial request for the ad hoc committee. We none of us know how this is going to end up, but I'm very confident that it's going to be, every stone is going to be uncovered. It will be analyzed to the nth degree. I feel confident of that. If there's nothing else, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Have a motion by Commissioner Thacker and a second by Commissioner Burrell. Thank you.